My name is Jett, and I am, I guess, I'm called a gopher, but technically I'm more of a kind of a freelancer around the shop. So I do everything from, running errands, maintenance on machines, to even working on certain cars that overflow from the hot rod shop. And so I am currently working on a 1928 Nash. So it is a pre-war car. That means a lot of the parts are not sourceable. It also means a lot of the work can not really be done by a typical tech, anybody that's trained on modern cars, because these things are so old. A lot of the guys that work on them are just retired or dead, or they're not found around here. So I'm kind of also not only working, but I'm also learning on them too. And as you can see here, I got it running. I kept a lot of the original parts, changed some spark plugs, changed a ignition coil. Other than that, everything else is pretty swapped out. Not really. I put an electronic fuel pump. There's a plate right there, and you're going to see that I took the original manifold heat and I took it out of the manifold. And the reason for that is I believe that it would also help it run better with startup, because we're trying to get the car basically dialed in, able to run on its own, start up on its own for the customer. So you can see me messing with a fuel pressure regulator, and the fuel pressure regulator was there to help with the carburetor. It was pushing too much fuel into the carburetor and flooding it out, and with this car the fuel sucked in vertically from the bottom, so that was an issue. Here I'm assembling the fuel regulator, and no TPE tape, just straight brass, threaded in, ready to rock and roll. And here you can see me bending some brass tubing. I kept a lot of the original fuel lines, and I'm cutting some rubber tubing to splice it in. And then I went fancy. I went a little baller on this one on AutoZone or O'Reilly's, and I got the little ones with the keys. So those definitely do help instead of just a big old screwdriver or whatever. It's much more easier. So I'm setting my PSI. I'm looking for just enough to keep the fuel from flooding the float bowl. And I think I settled on around 2 to 3 PSI, which is typical range. Alright, so here you can see the original manifold heat, flap. And that's 100 years old, and it's cast iron, so you have to be super gentle with it. I am not tapping very hard. I'm just tapping enough to get it moving. I unfortunately broke it off trying to pry it off, and then I realized that that's not how that works. I ended up breaking a bolt off the manifold too, so I had to drill and re-tap that. So here I'm just trying to get that last piece off that's not broke. I'm planning on reusing that. And then I tried hammering it, and it mushroomed the mild steel top, so I'm kind of shaping it to get to that hole. And then we're putting a bunch of heat on it, so I have to get this thing hot. And at first I thought, well, not that hot, but no, I had to get it blazing hot. We're talking, it's probably glowing orange, almost white. And I'm using a more of a milder flame on it. I don't want to start to cut into it. I just want to heat it up and get that cast nice and hot. So that's all I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to heat up the whole other part of that and heat all around that cast. I'm trying to get that cast iron nice, glowing red hot. And working in a shop, heat is your best friend for stuck parts like this, because it makes things just come free. It's like magic. So if you understand that metal expands when it heats up, then you can get most metal parts that are stuck unstuck. So that's what I'm trying to do right there. Yes, I'm gripping a blazing hot piece of metal with mechanics gloves. Not fun to do. It could burn acrylic into your skin, but I'm an idiot, so I went ahead and grabbed it anyway. So we're heating up more of the backside, and it really just took a lot of experimenting to figure out how hot can I get this thing to move it. Because we don't want to get too hot that it cracks more, at least the part that I'm trying not to replace. So I'm trying to grind that last piece off, kind of just taking off that mushroom that started to happen, pushing it through. And I'm using a punch. I'm just doing a light 1-2 tap. So I set, then I hit, then I set, then I hit. And then I took it out. So this is me using a frame rack and two 2x4s because the vise wasn't working out. And you could see that it got so hot in one clip that I basically started making a small campfire in the shop, and it smelled like oak. So you can see there, I'm getting that thing hot. Like I said, it has to be glowing orange, but if you notice, the middle is much colder compared to the outside, and that's on purpose because we want the outside to expand and let the inside drop out, all while not trying to start to cut in the metal or melt it, which we definitely can do. So if you look at that right there, I'm going to circular motion. That's really just to get the thing nice and buttery hot so we can punch it right through.